Yeah, I can start Swati again.
Yeah,
Okay.
Swati.
So yeah, Swati, about Swati, what is interesting, Prabhuji, as I was saying, was that sun actually gets debilitated in Swati. It's very interesting because in Swati, you have the story of Vayu, Vayu is the deity here. Vayu is carrying the story. Vayu is known as Hanuman, and you find parallels with the Hanuman story playing out for a native who's having a planet in Swati. Now it's very important again with Swati. You have to remember in Hanuman's story, his life became fulfilled only when he found Lord Ram. The moment he found Lord Ram, immediately like everything fell into place for him, and he almost became a Chiranjeevi himself. He became an immortal being. So it's very powerful. Swati is actually very interesting because Vayu is the god of wind, and you find many times these natives, they are they travel like the wind. They do a lot of traveling. They are all over the place. Like a wind. The moment you open a room, a door, a window, the wind immediately enters into a room, and the entire room is occupied by the wind. Now, what is interesting with Vayu is that Vayu was actually an important minister in Indra's court. So I've seen that many times. These natives actually like to be involved in that kind of activity. Definitely I've seen that there is an important story in which, there is a challenge, I believe, in which the gods are testing who is the most important. And I think initially Varna takes away his sea power, Agni takes away his fire, the world is destroyed. But then eventually when Vayu takes away the breath, even the gods themselves cannot breathe. So it's a many times these natives hold very important positions, very very positions. It's almost like when these natives are absent, then everyone else begins to notice that. There's this kind of karma. And one other important thing with Swati is that, as I mentioned with Hanuman, so Hanuman, only when Hanuman found Lord Ram, that's when that's when Hanuman's life became in order. So similarly, the Swati native person should have to find kind of Lord Ram element. It can be like a Lord Ram himself, it can be like himself, it can be Shiva himself. Some kind of spiritual aspect needs to be activated. And when the spiritual surge comes, especially in the form of a guru, that's when truly you can find it playing out. And now, what is very interesting in Hanuman's story is that this is one example that's often quoted, that Hanuman actually was searching for a wife of Lord Ram, Sita, who was kidnapped by Ravan. And they reached the shore of Rameshwara or something like that in Tamil Nadu or something. And then they were about to, yeah, that place. And then what happened was that they knew that the only place left to search was Lanka. And Hanuman was kind of dejected. He didn't know what he could do. He was like, I don't know what to do now and stuff like that. And then he was reminded of his powers by Jambuan. Jambuan himself is a bear-headed being, right? And this is a very interesting example because when Hanuman had received a curse because when he was young, he literally chased the sun away, right? He thought sun was an apple and he jumped up to eat the sun, and sun ran away, thinking I'm about to be eaten. And then the world became into darkness because of that. And then what eventually happened was that eventually the rishis cursed Hanuman, may you forget your gifts. And then Hanuman repented. He said, okay, how can I curse? And then the rishi said, you will gain your strength back when you're reminded of it. Someone should remind you, and then you will gain your strength back. So that's exactly what happened in Hanuman's story, in which Jambuan had reminded Hanuman of his own gifts. So Hanuman was feeling dejected. He felt I was a loser. I don't think I can go to Lanka. Then Jambuan reminded Hanuman, look, you are Hanuman. When you were young, you thought the sun was an apple and you jumped up in the sky. So why are you having a big deal about jumping over to Lanka? So now that's exactly what. So like Hanuman jumped over to Lanka. Then when he got reminded of his gifts, on the way he defeated many three asuras also. I think there was one, there was another asura, things like that. And then when
Suras
he was in
and
Lanka, he
Simhika was also there.
exactly, yeah. Simhinga was also there. So it's very interesting. Simhinga is carrying the themes of Sun and Leo and stuff, right? So very, very interesting on that. And then
And
he reached Lanka, and then
I have also
Mhm.
seen
So
regarding this allurements which Hanumanji got. You know,
mhm.
that, for example, this he got this, Mainak Parvat also came, and this Suras was a demoness who Brahma had blessed that whoever goes inside, I mean, nobody can come out or he will eat definitely. Then Hanumanji went and came back suddenly by becoming small. And Simhika,
Right,
he directly ripped apart her chest and she was dead. So I have seen
right,
that Swati natives sometimes, if they have prominent planets like Sun, Moon, or Lord of the Ascendant, then many times when they go to execute something, now they will face big allurements.
exactly.
But
Yep,
if they
yep,
don't give into those allurements and keep going,
yep,
then they will have such huge, massive success. He burned the entire Lanka. I mean, that
yep,
Ravan, who nobody could even, once I was in a satsang program, the guru was telling that this Ravan's Lanka was such a, it was such a, I don't know, there's a word in English or not. It
yep,
is such
yep,
a
yep, yep,
dangerous place. He said that
yep,
even an ant or a mosquito could not
yep,
enter without Ravan's permission or could come out also. It was
yep,
such a dangerous place. And then
yep,
this man
yep,
goes and burns the entire Lanka. I mean, that's like
yep,
so.
exactly.
But if they give in to these allurements, then they lose it.
Exactly. Now it's very important points which you mentioned. I would I would like to add on that. So like you have to remember one Simhiga can actually be considered as Leo astrologically. Simhiga is carrying the energy of Leo. So usually these natives might have some kind of Simhiga kind of karma with people with planets in Leo in general. It's straightforward as that. That is one thing that you can extrapolate. The
Will rip
second thing you can
apart.
say is that because yeah, yeah, exactly. Ripped apart your chest. A friend is having carrying planets in Leo, and you are literally ripping his heart apart by literally telling things to them and that. The other thing, what can happen is that he destroyed Ravan's Lanka, right? That was actually Ravan's home. Now, if you again look at that, Ravan is supposed to have the nakshatra Mula, if I'm not mistaken. Ravan's nakshatra is Mula. There are some people also say Hanuman's nakshatra is also Mula, but anyway, Ravan we know is Mula. Now, what is interesting with Mula is because Ravan's home was destroyed, Swati native, right, by Hanuman. So again, what can happen for a soul is that they might be interfering in some kind of someone else's family affairs, and good chance that the person whose family this Swati native is entering in might be a Mula kind of energy with that particular person. Some planet will be in Mula, a Dasha of a planet in Mula is running, things like that can also be playing out. So it's like that. So if you begin to pay attention, if you know the mythological stories, and if you know the corresponding no again with Hanuman, the thing with Hanuman was that he was reminded of his gifts by Jambavan. So if Jambavan was not there, Hanuman would still be stuck at that shore. Now Jambavan is a bear-headed being. So Jambavan has bear in a face. So it's very interesting because Barney is actually carrying that beer energy very strongly. Barney is like the womb energy. The bears hibernate in a womb like situation for a long time. So it's almost like, and you find Barney Nakshatra is exactly opposite to
What's
Swati Nakshatra. And Swati Nakshatra is also the nakshatra. Saturn is actually getting exalted as well. At the final degree of Swati, at 20 degrees of Swati is exactly where Saturn gets exalted. So you can Hanuman was the greatest devotee of Lord Ram. That's the very easy manner you can see that because Saturn is actually exalted. Saturn is the planet of devotion and persistence and things like that. But then Barney is the nakshatra where Saturn is getting debilitated. But at the same time, Barney is the Jambuan energy, which is actually encouraging Hanuman. So you will find that with Swati natives, they might interact with the Burni kind of native, and then suddenly they are finding as if they are getting renewed vigor and stuff like that. finding more additional inspiration, things like that. So it's almost like the actual mythological story will play out through the nakshatras. So
Yeah,
again,
I've also seen
so
this working in case of Bharani, for example. Like
mhm,
whenever there is a Bharani Nakshatra is going on, or major transits are happening there, so somehow I tend to meet people who are like very healthy,
mhm,
and then their speech is like very grave, and they speak
yeah,
very slowly, and then they speak something, but then they mean so many other things also. And then,
yeah,
can somebody
yeah,
please explain me what is going on?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, with Bernie, yeah, Bernie is again Saturn double, so there is some karma with being slow and stuff like that, for sure. But what is interesting, but it's very interesting from this inter nakshatra kind of relationship. I've seen that. Now they say Bernie for just looking in Maga, you can see that Bernie is carrying the Yamraj energy, Maga is carrying the Pitri's energy, and Yamraj is actually the king of the Pitris, the Raj of the Pitris. So definitely Barney Nakshatra natives will be like giving commands to Maga Nakshatra natives. That's a very common thing I've seen. Many times you'll see Maga women to men who's having planets in Barney, because Maga moon women are very strong dependent. But then man in Barney with planet in Barney is actually able to command that particular woman. I've seen that play out very easily. But correspondingly, you'll find Barney Nakshatra natives might actually be encouraging Swati Nakshatra natives in many ways. In many ways. So in terms of, could be like something simple as like reminding themselves of what you have done before, and then simply you can go forward in the accomplishments. And again, with Nakshatra natives and Swati natives, it's very interesting because they'll have this kind of tug of war kind of going on, because Mula is the Ravan's Nakshatra with completely different philosophical point of view, and Swati is carrying a Rahu kind of energy with influences of Saturn and Sun also playing out there. So it's kind of interesting there. And Mula is completely carrying the energy of Jupiter, because Jupiter is having its Mula Trikon portion in Mula Nakshatra. So it's an interesting kind of perspective there. But yeah, that's one thing with Swati. Again, with Swati, I've seen very commonly because of this Vayu connection. At some point, they are required to travel. Because of this Vayu, this function of Vayu is travel, and usually it might travel. Very frequent business travels through air. So it's like aeroplane and stuff like that. Or even if they are traveling in car, they'll just put their window shields down so that they can feel the wind in the car and stuff like that. It's very common. At least in India, you see that more. Not in the West, it's impossible to do that. But
Yeah,
that's one
even
thing I've
Bharani
seen.
is related to travel, right?
Barney.
Bharani is also related to travel and some change, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing. So is interestingly, Barney is related to travel because Swati Nakshatra is exactly opposite to Barney. So you
Yes.
can see that. So at some point, Barney Nakshatra natives will also be traveling at some point. That can happen for sure. And it might happen after a long time. It can happen in a karmic, all that Saturnian kind of being double dated kind of influences can play out very strongly. Yeah, but Babaji ji, I'm curious. Like, is there any other story of Vayu that you can think about? Anything that comes to your mind right now? With Swati Nakshatra.
With Vayu, I remember that when Hanumanji he had been hit by the Vajra of Indra. Then
Right,
Vayu had sucked off all the air from the entire universe. And
right,
then all the other demigods, the Devatas, had to go and bless that. Yamaraj went and said, I will not take your son's life. Then Brahma
right,
said that no divine weapon can touch you. And then
right,
said that fire will never affect you. Then Varuna said, water, you will never die in water.
right.
So then this is what I think, that sometimes, as you said, that if Vayu stands up, and as he starts walking, as it happened in that assembly, and everybody started choking. So
Yep.
I've seen sometimes if in my experience, I've seen if somebody's eighth lord is in Swati, or 10th lord is in Swati, or suppose the 8th lord and 10th lord is conjunct sitting in Swati, then it happens that if the person is in a big company, in a big corporate organization, then due to some reason, then they are laid off from the company. But then the moment they go, everything collapses.
Yep, exactly that.
They have
Exactly that. Yep.
defaming because of the 8th house, because unless the 8th house
Yep.
comes, you cannot have defaming. That's not possible. And then because of the connection of the 10th house, or if the 11th lord is aspecting or anything like that, then I have seen these people, they will come back, and then by that what will happen is their honor is reinstantiated. They are again back to the position, and from that time, I've also seen that people, they become even more powerful, because Hanuman became even more
Yep.
powerful later on. He became so much
Yep.
powerful.
Yep. Yep.
So it's like
Exactly.
now that person, when he or she comes back, they are like 10 times more powerful, because now everybody has realized how powerful this person is. So
Yep.
this is something I have
Yep.
seen with Swati native. So on the other side, what we can do, if we have a employee who has Swati prominent, or if we are a boss or we are a leader, then we can before saying that we should
Mm-hmm.
send this person out, we should have a
Mm-hmm.
realistic approach to what this person is doing. And many a times, as it happens in case of Hanumanji, that it is not that he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Yep.
that you have to remind him once.
Exactly. Now, it's very interesting. The reminding. It's very interesting because Hanuman is connected with Lord Ram, and Lord Ram is associated with Nakshatra Punarvasu. Punarvasu Nakshatra, reminding, repetition. So you might have to repeat something this particular employee. You might have to go through again repetitive kind of steps. So it's very. So it's almost like. Yeah.
Yeah, that is also very true. As you said in the beginning, that unless he finds Ram, his life will not be fulfilled. And when he meets Ram, if you read the Valmiki Ramayana, it's very amazingly explained. What happens is, he does not go as Hanuman. He changes his form
Right.
to a Brahmin and he goes there.
Right.
And then
Right.
what happens? Then he asks, okay, so who are you both? And then Lord Ram says, I am Ram, and he's Lakshman. And then eventually Hanumanji reveals his form, that I am the servant of this Sugriv. So then the
Right.
explanation is given that when Hanumanji saw Ram, Lord Ram, he did not recognize that he's Ram and he's like the soul of my life, goal, objective of my life. He's
Right.
everything.
Right.
He didn't realize that. Why? Because
Right.
he disguised himself. He did not show his original that form. So
Yep. Yep.
therefore, Swati natives, whenever they are going to a guru, or they are going to take guidance from somebody, then they should never, 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 never ever hide what is there inside.
Yep.
Especially
Exactly.
from a
Yep.
doctor or a guru or from an astrologer, also that can be, or from a lawyer, especially
Yep.
these days. So
Yep.
then what
Exactly.
happens? They will not be able to make out what is going on in their life, and then later on they will suffer. But if they go and reveal, I've seen, once it for all the problems will be solved.
Yep.
And yes, it's a very important nakshatra because of Hanumanji's connection, and this constant search I have seen with Swati people. For example, like Hanumanji went for searching Sita Devi,
Yep. Yep.
and then he could somehow find her, but then he had to do some. He voluntarily decided that I will do some more for
Right.
for Lord
Right.
Ram. फ्री में वो लंका भी जला देंगे उस टाइप का.
Right.
I've seen that sometimes it can happen that after finishing their objectives, they might want to do more also. If especially the Lagna Lord or the 10th Lord is there. I've seen if the Lagna Lord is there, then these people, they are like, oh, I wish I could have done something more.
Yep.
So
Yep.
this is
Definitely.
not enough, some more, thoda or kuch, this kind of nature I have seen, because they have that
Yep.
feeling, we have found Sita Devi, but what about this Lanka? Lanka is still there to burn.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's I
definitely.
think, a lot of things you shared. Thank you so much. We could have
Yeah, yeah,
discussed
Babajit.
eternity, but
Yeah,
because
sure,
interest of time, I have to cut short the conversation. And anything else
sure.
you'd
It's all
like to
good.
share for 2 minutes, whatever you wish.
Well, yeah, the simplest thing I would say is look into the mythological story. Try to find any kind of mythological stories in connection with the character, and you'll be surprised. So the characters you encounter in the mythological stories, if you connect with that particular nakshatra energy, is linked with that particular mythological story. So, for instance, Purnavas, we just mentioned the theme of repetition, is reminding yourself and perhaps going through your own past memories and stuff like that. It's as simple as that. So, if you begin to connect with the energy of a particular character, especially in nakshatrams, then you're hitting on a gold mine at that point. You come up with a lot of treasure troves of information and all kind of things from that point. So then it becomes a matter of just connecting with a person who is carrying that particular nakshatra energy also in simple human terms, and then that might actually help you out a lot. So simple as that. It's to be frank, you have say a person is carrying one particular energy, you just keep that person with in your employee in your office or whatever, and then you're generating wealth because that person is carrying the nakshatra energy, running a positive dasha of that particular planet. Even that's
Yeah,
also possible,
I also just suddenly wondered when you said Punarvasu. I was thinking that uh, if you take Bharani, then Punarvasu will be in the third house, right? So it's like
Exactly.
one is
Yeah,
giving Guru Desh, the third house, to Hanuman. So I can
exactly. Exactly that. So Punvas is exactly ninth house from Swati also. So again, so that
the
Upadesh
Guru
Guru
is
kind of
playing.
thing is also playing out
The Guru
like
will
that.
remind you.
Exactly that. Guru's job is to remind you. Yes, exactly that. Yeah.
Thank you so
Sure.
much, and see
Sure,
you
Babuji.
again. And those who
Sure.
have watched this video, you can write down in the comments which nakshatras you want, or we can do on Uttarashada, because Saturn is going to transit, I guess, on 26th or
Sure.
27th this year, December.
Sure.
We can do it
Yeah.
on Uttarashada, and Ketu is
Sure.
going to enter Mula, so we can also do on Mula.
Sure. That'll be great. Sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
That'll be,
Nice to talk to you.
sure. Sure, Babuji. Yeah. Same. Yeah. Thank you. Namaste.